Welcome to Series 2 of the Waterford SportsAbility podcast, brought to you with the support of Healthy Ireland. My name is Pauline Casey, Sports Inclusion Disability Officer at Waterford Sports Partnership, and I will be joining you over the next 4 weeks as we talk to leisure facilities, national governing bodies and disability clubs and discuss all the opportunities that are available in Waterford for people with a disability. Welcome to Series 2, Episode 1, Waterford Facilities Accessible for All. I'm delighted to be joined by Aaron Grant, WT Arena, Eamon Cullen from Waterford Warriors and Rachel Beckett from Invincible Fitness. Welcome this morning, guys.
Thank you.
Great. So I just want to get you to do maybe a quick introduction about your facility. So Aaron, we might start with you.
Perfect. Yeah, I suppose so we're based in WT Arenas on West Campus in Carrignor here in Waterford. We're a multi-purpose facility, so we cater for sports, like gym, sport and events. I suppose the main aim of our facility really within here in Waterford is to make sure that our facility and all activities we do are available to all members of the community, irrespective of ages and abilities. So that's one of the main aims that we try to cater within WT Arena.
Fabulous. Eamon?
We would be a CrossFit affiliate, Pauline. We're based in Waterford, in the 6 Cross Roads here in Waterford as well. And we are here in existence about 7 years. We're a CrossFit affiliate, as I said, so it's all class-based fitness. And we have dabbled in other kinds of programs over the years, like we would have hosted stuff like boot camps and hit classes and stuff like that, and several different types of programs with the likes of Waterford Sports Partnership over the years. So predominantly the class-based CrossFit stuff, but dabbled in other areas as well over the years. Brilliant,
that's really, really interesting. We might just come back to that in a couple of seconds.
Sure.
Rachel?
From Invincible Fitness, and we're based in Waterford Business Park. Our gym is specifically designed for people with disability and mobility struggles, so a little bit different, I say, to mainstream gyms. So it's more kind of a community based, where we welcome lots of people with all types of disabilities and capabilities. So it's one of its kind.
Brilliant. So I suppose it was really interesting, and the reason why we have the three of you on this morning is that there's 3 completely different types of gym facilities there. However, you're all here for the same purpose and the same reason, because you're all inclusive of people with a disability.
Yeah.
So Rachel, I might just come to you first though. Okay. You're a gym of your kind, really, as you just said.
Yeah.
How did you think of the idea, or where did it come about from? Because you're in existence, is it 2 to 3 years? Yeah. So give us a little bit of background where that came from.
So I'm in the industry 16 years. So I worked in community-based gyms, I worked in council-based gyms and mainstream gyms. And I always kind of have a love for working with people with disabilities. They were always kind of, not wanting to use the words kind of shunned, but kind of forgotten about. And it was kind of a big deal to have them in your gym, because they were a lot of work when they weren't really. They were kind of forgotten about. You'd have kind of PAs coming in with people with disabilities and they wouldn't know what they were doing. They were trying their best, but no one was actually helping them and putting them into the right direction. So from there, it's kind of got ideas where introduce kind of classes, welcome for all people with disabilities, kind of bringing it on, introducing disabilities, I guess, the mainstream gyms, and showing that they're capable of lots of things, and the experience that they're going to have is going to be the same as any other individual. And I just got the love and the more passion of seeing them grow, seeing them be able to come into a mainstream gym and have independence. Then it was I loved it. It was heartwarming, so it made my job a little bit better.
Yes, you were getting a lot of purpose out of that.
A lot of purpose out of it, and see their faces and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
And just to create a space where people with disabilities are welcome. So it was always a dream, and no matter how much I tried, it was kind of the doors were kind of thrown in my face. It wasn't welcomed at all. So then I said, look, I'll just go for it. So myself and my business partner Laura Casson, she would have a cousin with a disability, Jenny, she has cerebral palsy, and she tried so many places for her to get her into exercise and stuff like that, and everything was a problem. So we just had a chat one night. We met at a party over a couple of drinks, and we said we'll go for it. So we just went for it. We gave it our all. So it's self-funded by both of us. So we just took the leap and went with it.
Brilliant. That sounds really good, Rachel. I think the big thing was from that is around taking those barriers down and showing the possibilities, which is going to bring me to you, Eamon, in Waterford Warriors. And you mentioned you're a CrossFit affiliate.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's really interesting. It's something that people might think, well, this is not for me, this is CrossFit. But actually, CrossFit is actually for everybody. Your gym and your facility, Waterford Warriors, is for everybody. And I've seen firsthand myself at the type of work that you do there. Would you give me a little bit of an idea about how you ended up in the field? Because you really lead a lot of the disability programs or the disability activities and PTs in the gym there.
Yeah. So definitely all by accident for me, and definitely a lot of winging it would have went on for me. But I think the general CrossFit is something that I know that there's a very small section of people who would know a lot about it, and then most people probably still know nothing about it. But one of the main things about it is that it's infinitely scalable. So you can have the idea in general is that I could go in, or a very fit fella like Jamie over there could go in and do a workout and find that workout very, very effective, but they could also bring in their auntie or uncle or mother, and a modified version of that workout can be found and can be changed around by the coach so that they can feel the same at the end of it, and they can get a similarly effective workout from it, and maybe even more effective and maybe even more kind of life-changing over time for those kind of sections of society, the older people, people who would not have been included in sports and stuff in earlier life and stuff, to be included in it. So if that can be adapted to kind of totally able-bodied people, why not can it be adapted to people who are wheelchair users and are seated athletes and stuff like that? So that I suppose would have influenced me a lot. And then just from seeing it done, I think social media has had a great, it has a great effect on it as well. In that, people are sharing up ideas of exercises of how CrossFit can be adapted around to people, say for example a wheelchair user or whatever, and that's how I would have ended up, just slowly but surely, and just people happened to come into the gym. I'd say the first person that used our gym that was a wheelchair user was just a relative of members of the gym existing, and they just happened to bring them along and maybe tried a few things here and there, and that's kind of how I would have started getting involved in it here and there.
Absolutely, and that sounds great, Eamon. And I suppose the fact that you fell into it and you didn't have that experience maybe that Rachel might have had and that background, when that person came into you for their first session, how did you feel?
There's pros and cons to it. I think the fact that you're not experienced in it does take the pressure off you a little bit as well. Because if you had done loads of courses and you're all hyped up for your first person coming in, they might have you probably think they have big expectations of you, of what to expect. But when kind of everybody in the situation knows that look, we're going to try a few things here, they might not all work. We'll try them now, we'll trial and error, and the next time you come back it'll be a bit better. We'll try more things then, it'll be a bit better after that. I think that's what made me a lot more at ease with it. It does take you out of your comfort zone a lot, but it 100% makes you a better coach to people, because if you can adapt things around for somebody that has to do their exercises from, say, a wheelchair, you're fairly confident you can adapt anything around for anybody after that, and it's just a scale after that.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good attitude that you have, that yes, I don't know everything, but I'm willing to learn as I go. I'm going to make mistakes, we're all going to make mistakes, but I'm going to learn from them. So Aaron, I just want to come to you on that then as well. So again, the arena is a different type of facility as well. It's a larger facility catering for lots of college students as well as the general population. I suppose, what's your experience in catering for people with a disability in your organisation?
Yeah, well, I suppose from my own personal experience, I'm in the industry 10 to 15 years. I suppose starting out with the lads probably as an instructor, and then kind of moving on now more probably to the management side of it. But I suppose the biggest thing I've found over the years when it comes to it is the key word that the lads have both referred to as barrier. Is the barriers, overcoming the barriers. What can we do? I suppose the common conception of a facility like ours, which we're a gym and sport facility, we nearly pull through maybe 250,000 people through the building in a busy year. And the biggest thing that people might say is that's not for me. And I suppose the biggest thing we tried to do was break down that barrier. And one of the key things that we've signed up for is the CARA Disability Sport Inclusion Disability Charter. And I suppose everything that we do, we try to endorse, support and promote all elements of that under openness, people, facilities, activities we do, and try to promote the best we can. I suppose one of the key things that we try to do, if anyone's listening to this, to say that, look, I suppose a facility like ours is that we're open for business. What we do is work closely with the likes of yourselves to try, I suppose, with our staff. The main thing we do is to make sure that all staff, as part of their induction, get disability awareness trained, which is a key thing. So it'll help people along their journey if they were to enter the facilities to make them feel comfortable. Obviously, we adapt our facilities around that as well to try, I suppose, to encourage people to come through our doors.
Yeah, no, that sounds great, and I think that's really important, the fact that, number one, the facility is open, and they're open to including people with a disability in it, and they're also putting structures in place to make sure that their staff are upskilled, because it's really important from the minute that any member of the public comes in that door that they feel welcome, they feel part of that environment as well. So that's all really good. So Aaron, it's great that all the staff are trained, and I think that's really, really important. Can you give me an example then of maybe an initiative or some kind of a programme that you do or that your facility do to ensure that people are included within your gym service?
Yeah, there's a number of initiatives that we do, Pauline. I suppose one that comes to mind is we had a particular girl with a visual impairment. I suppose she lacked the confidence, self-esteem to access the facility. So one of our instructors actually worked one-on-one with her for a number of weeks. I suppose just to encourage her to break those barriers that we talked about, build a bit of confidence. And I suppose that he worked one-on-one with her for a number of weeks, maybe 8 to 12 weeks. But I suppose about how that transcended is now that particular girl that we're talking about at the minute is one of our regular members in the gym. She now attends all our half-6 spin classes. She attends the gym regularly, so it's one of our high users. So I suppose that's a great story of someone who from scratch, from blank, was totally apprehensive, zero confidence, and then see where you can come with just actually making that step forward, interacting with certain facilities and taking advantage of I suppose the support mechanisms we have in place.
Yeah, and I think they're the kind of barriers, Rachel, that you were talking about when you were working maybe in some of those community gyms or maybe council-based gyms, that's the kind of time that maybe wasn't given to somebody or was seen as a problem as such. What would you say to people that are apprehensive about coming to your gym or apprehensive about going to any gym? What would you say to them, or what advice would you give them?
I'd say that people of the fitness industry are more aware that people with disabilities need to be included, that our eyes are open more, that we are more welcome when you come to the facility. Trying to make it like as comfortable as possible. So when I come in, I don't want to hear like bang bang music, I don't want to hear loud music. So that's one of the things that we start, that they're greeted, that we kind of get friendly, we know you. You're not one of these numbers that you scan in your card and we forget you. So it's more, for our facility is more community based, so we know everybody. We've really thought out of the facility on its all ground level, the spaces between the machines, so if you're in a wheelchair, if you're on a stick, if you're visually impaired, or the level and stuff that all the machines and weights and stuff are at. So someone with a disability may come in and might want PT at start to build that trust with you, to get used to the area, to know what exercise is. They mightn't have done it before. But then a lot of my people that would come in with a disability for more of a one-on-one approach have now become independent, so they know the facility, they're happy with the facility, and they're more confident. And
I think that's the piece, is that independence piece that you've touched on, Aaron, as well, is about becoming a mainstream member of the gym, and I think that's the overall aim of it as well, isn't it? Eamon, for you, encouraging people into the likes of like a CrossFit affiliate gym, and this is one that I really like. So I'm familiar with your gym, it's all ground based, the toilets are on ground level, they are not wheelchair accessible as such. But I don't think that's a barrier, and you've really overcome that. So I think it's about being honest and open at the start and explaining what the facility can offer.
Yeah.
What would you say to people that would like to join CrossFit or would like to try it out even?
Well, first of all, I would say to them to your first time going into a gym doesn't have to be a time where you come in and train. So like what I'd at least say to people is to go into any gym just for a look, and you get a good vibe off that, of if that facility is for you. So like it might not be like, you might walk in there with, like Rachel mentioned, banging music there. You might walk into our gym and hear that, and that's just the nature of our business, the nature of our gym. So that might be a time when you come into the gym and you go, maybe this isn't for me. But I think the key there is that you went into a gym, like exercise and gyms, like it's an ecosystem, and it doesn't really matter which one you go to. It just matters that you go to one and find the one that suits you. Even bringing it out of the realm of disability, like probably about 80% of the people in Ireland don't go to any gym or engage in any kind of exercise. So it doesn't really matter what you end up doing. It matters that you do something. So yeah, ultimately I would just say go to a facility. If you don't like that one, go to a different one. You might end up like, I know actually the person who I mentioned there earlier on, who did do some exercise in our gym, I think is still over in Rachel's gym now. So they came into the general ecosystem of gyms and they exercised, and they might have discovered in our gym that they can do it, but maybe they want to do it more regularly and in a different kind of setting. So now they're in Rachel's gym, so they're still exercising. So ultimately I would just say go somewhere. If you don't like the first place, go for a look somewhere else. But and that's the best way to end up in a better place overall.
Absolutely, and it's about sustaining physical activity. And I think there's a really strong message coming from all three facilities there that you're all very open, you're all very willing, and you would love more people to come through your doors. And I think it's about having a conversation. I think it's having a conversation, first of all, as you said, Eamon, is this gym for me? And if it's not for me, maybe you could point somebody in the direction then to where they need to go to be able to cater from them. I also noticed within the Warriors as well over the years that there's been equipment at it.
Yeah.
So why did you have the extra equipment? So I've seen adapted equipment down there.
Yeah, well, a lot of that equipment is not really special equipment that we would have had to bring in. Luckily enough, I think a CrossFit facility. Luckily enough, most CrossFit facilities, luckily enough, are quite accessible, because most of them would be on ground level. Most of them would be in a facility like a unit like this, where you've got big wide roller doors where people can come in. There's no accessibility issues going into a doorway. Most of it's quite a wide open space. Any machines that are out of place are not fixed in position. They're like rowers and bikes and stuff that you can just easily get out of someone's way. So they're naturally enough fairly accessible, luckily enough. So I think the little bits of extra equipment that we would have added in would be kind of bonus stuff. But I would strongly believe that in any kind of facility, any kind of CrossFit space where you have a rower, it's not hard to adapt a rower. You take the kind of seat away from it and you just prop it up. Ski ergs are one of the easiest things to adapt. If a chair can't go in onto the stand, you can take the stand away and make it wall mounted. Very, very simple things. You don't money again isn't the barrier. You can change over the equipment. You even don't need those machines. You can use, if you have light dumbbells, bands or whatever. So I would say there is some equipment there, but I definitely wouldn't say that is really that necessary. It's a nice bonus to have, but definitely not necessary to have, I don't think.
Absolutely, and I suppose that's a very strong message again coming from all three around the barriers there, and there is no barriers to your facilities, and I think that's a really nice message to put across to the people of Waterford there, and encourage more people to even come in and have a look at all three facilities and see, are they for them? I think that'd be really good. Aaron, I know your facility is heavily involved with ourselves in the Waterford Sports Partnership in terms of the Waterford SportsAbility event itself and a number of other programmes. How important is it that your organisation is partnering with organisations like ourselves to include people with disability into your organisation?
I think it's massive. I think with ourselves, especially in conjunction with the college, I think there's a big initiative with ourselves to make our facility open for everyone. So I suppose a number of events, like one of the biggest ones we did with yourselves, I think we're the main sponsor with yourselves for the Sports Ability Weekend. We made that free event as well, to really just make sure that we're trying to bring people in. Let's say we just made a completely free event, trying to entice people to come in. In conjunction with that, we've done a number of different initiatives. I suppose we also work with Brothers of Charity. They did their annual sports day event, I think 3 years in a row with ourselves as well. So yeah, look, I think it's just, as I said, is whatever we can, I suppose, as a representative of WIT as well, whatever we can to do to promote to the public. And I suppose we come from an era of like the lads say, from the general public, from a gym perspective, but also with sport as well, that we're heavily involved in. I suppose through the college, our sports department as well, we have a great story of Hayley Fitzsimon, who was actually a graduate of Sport and Recreation Management. She's actually just talking about recently. She completed her Masters in UCC as well, and she competed at the Sports World Games as well. I think she won 5 silvers and a bronze, so that's a fantastic story for anyone, even if starting out going to college or see what you can achieve. I think Hayley's story is a fantastic story.
Absolutely, that's it. And actually Hayley's mum was part of our Series 1 podcast last year, and it's a fabulous story, so if anyone wants to hear that, just tune in to Series 1. Guys, thank you so much for giving me your time today. It's fantastic to hear about your facilities, how open you are, how inclusive you are, and how there are no barriers in your view to people participating in sport and physical activity within your gyms and your organisations. So thank you very much, and we'll actually post up your details as well on our website so that people can make contact with you directly, and hopefully you get some new members and new people joining your gyms.
Thanks, Pauline.
Thanks, Pauline.